policy addressing gender fluidity and parental notification. Ms. Oldenweller.
Well, it's pretty apparent that based on what the students were saying today and the people speaking today regarding the notification to parents being a major concern on the policy proposed, or the information that I put forth just for discussion or comment on. But when it comes to, I had a conversation with Dr. Null, and I asked him, do we have any, how are we handling these situations as they occur, and how are we instructing the 60 plus campuses, depending on how you count them, in how we protect all students, including the private bathrooms, the gender assigned bathrooms, however they're labeled. How are we protecting, how are we instructing, how are we doing all of this? And if there's nothing written, there's no policy and there's no written procedure. And we had a great conversation going over all of this. However, that brought us back to and what he stated is nowhere Conroe ISD does not keep information from our parents. We inform them of everything.
Right.
But yet we had how many people here saying that we don't? And so I'm asking you tonight, we had several students speak here about not informing parents. I shouldn't say that we don't. I'll rephrase that. That we shouldn't inform parents. And if we don't have something written, how do we protect that?
Well,
what gets, I think the question was asked to me. What gets said at that podium during public comment is not always true.
Oh, no, sir, I didn't mean it that way.
Make sure we all understand that.
Yes. No.
Understatement of the day.
What I meant is how are we ensuring that parents know that we're informing them?
Yeah, well, I have never, as we talked about, I'll just say, like I've told everyone, I've never had a single parent in my career here. Now, I haven't been in this building forever, but I've been in this building for 10 years, taking every complaint phone call in secondary education. I've never had a parent complain that a campus withheld that information about their child from them. Not a single one. So, and we get a lot of complaints about a lot of things that we don't get right. That's one that I've never had that complaint. So I believe our campuses are doing a great job of that. We have that conversation with our staff over and over again. We don't withhold information from parents. So, I do not see that as being an issue for us. We handle every single one of these, as we talked about, privately and individually and with families, discreetly to protect every child. That's just how we've always done it. We've always been successful with that, and as I mentioned to you, we have always been successful. If we reach a day where I don't feel like we're being successful, I will share that with you all and tell you that we have a problem that I need you all to help solve for our campuses. I don't believe that that's where we are today. I don't see it as a problem that we need intervention to solve today. It's always you all can do as you please.
There was a young girl that spoke from the podium tonight that said it's her last year at College Park. She's a senior. She had to leave her event to come speak, and she fears for the safety of children that she attends school with in our district if we start telling their parents that these children are suicidal. I mean, she was speaking on behalf of her peers, but she herself exhibited fear that her parents might find out, or parents might find out about their gender identity. Yeah. That if we don't have anything in place to mitigate, to even handle that, how can we? I mean, she's coming to this meeting to speak to us about her fears. That tells me that it's present.
She didn't come to this meeting to tell me that what we're doing is wrong. That's not why she came.
She's saying those policies.
It's the explicit nature that create what and I don't wanna put words in her
I'm just
mouth
saying
either.
that the
But what
children
but
are-
what she said is when you create policy, you can put a target on a certain group of people, that's what elevates the problem.
Yep.
And I
When we
think
can
that's how
handle
it's
things-
being perceived.
Yeah, you know, it's your policies.
Yeah.
I mean, I think without it being written, how we handle things, if we handle it case by case, then we open ourselves up to more risk, not less.
I thought we already talked about this
We
last
did. I don't
meeting.
even know
did 2
what, I
weeks
don't
What,
even know
what
what
is
the conversation's
new?
about right now
What
at
is
this
new?
point.
I don't get it.
Well, that was gonna be my question is, you know, with all due respect, Ms. Oldenweller, we did talk about this 2 weeks ago. What's changed in the last 2 weeks?
Well, part of it is that about the decision on Title IX, and that we need to put these things in place so that when school starts, we do not have students going into restrooms, not only students that are identifying having to use a restroom that is not in alignment with their biological sex, but then the students that are in those bathrooms that are being exposed and uncomfortable. So we have both those issues. All I'm saying is if we put it in place that students that need to use a private one-stall restroom can use their private one-stall restroom, then we have a policy in place that doesn't put anyone in a risk of being uncomfortable.
Are we talking about informing parents of
We're talking about
things,
all
or
of these
restaurant-
issues,
we
the
talking about all
information you
over
were
the place.
provided.
And the title 9 has nothing to do with restrooms. Why we keep talking about restrooms?
Because it
Does
does
somebody
have to
use
do with
restrooms?
restrooms. Title IX does have to
Yeah.
do with
Can
restrooms.
you show me one
It just
place
says you
in that
cannot
title that says
discriminate against
restroom? Show me
people.
one place in
Okay.
that legislation that says restroom. Since you all are so
You
well
want to
versed in these
discriminate
legislation, show me
against
one
It's
spot where it says restroom.
redefining the gender.
Now show me the restroom scare fear mongering that we're talking about constantly.
Never had a
There's
problem with
nowhere in
it.
the title.
You know what?
Show me
It's
that.
apparent that you all are not, you're risk adverse to things that protect students in one way, but you're not in another.
It's a-
And such as with other types of lawsuits. So it's obvious that you all are perfect. I say it's obvious that you are perfectly acceptable putting all students at risk by not having a policy in place is what it's very apparent.
I disagree. I
It's
disagree, and
apparent
I'm
that
not
you
sure
have
what you
a-
mean when you say "you all." I would
Well,
love for you
I
to
mean,
explain what
okay,
you're talking about.
There's at least two here speaking and about that we do not need a policy.
It's apparent
Yeah,
that you're
absolutely.
targeting one demographic.
I'm
one.
not. I'm trying
It's
to say
apparent that-
everyone
that-
and
that your
protecting
systemic
everyone.
policies isolate or target, call out one specific demographic.
How is
Everything
giving
you talked
everyone a
about last
restroom that
week.
they can be comfortable
From your
in?
books, just talking about restrooms is not, nowhere in that legislation. Nowhere in that legislation speaks about restrooms.
So did you
Nowhere.
participate in the NEA/TSTA's training on what is the fact sheet from Title IX?
In the NAACP pronouncements. And I understand when I see discrimination when I see it. Let's move on.
Look, are kids using the restrooms in our campuses now?
Say again?
Are kids able to use the restroom?
Yes, of course.
Do we have fights breaking out because of restrooms? Do we have,
This is
Kids
all
be-
about, this is all about a political.
Actually, yes.
all right, let me,
Not based on this topic.
let me
but
be
yes,
more
it's kind of that.
specific. Okay. Is there a problem with restroom
You
use
just said that, no.
right now?
No, we're
Like,
not.
then what are we doing here?
I just
Again,
don't
is
know
this,
we
is
don't.
this really just so you can take a stance on what your personal beliefs are?
She got
Okay?
Answer to the peeps.
How does this serve our students? How
It-
does this serve our community? Tell me.
It is to protect all students.
Protect you. There's
There you
no
go.
one
Do you
getting
know
harmed
that at
right now.
McCullough there
Yeah,
were,
in the
do you
towns.
know that at McCullough there was, in the girls' restroom, there was a biological male that came into and used the bathrooms, and students were in there that were female, biological female, and they were uncomfortable. Did anything happen? No. other than uncomfortable and not acceptable. And if we don't have a policy that prevents that, at some point, we could face the problem, but there could be something that goes wrong there. The same thing with locker rooms, the same thing with putting teachers at risk of not using proper, I'm sorry, sir, I cannot see Ms. Chase as you're leaning and blocking me from seeing down the dais.
He doesn't care.
Speak to the
There's
people
no
out there.
need for that.
I'm not speaking to them because we're having a conversation here.
Are there any of these examples that were not addressed on a campus level? Satisfactory.
Why are we having this discussion?
Do policies prevent kids from doing anything?
Policies give adults guidance. That's our job as a board, is
Yeah.
to
Were-
provide guidance
I agree.
in certain situations.
Were these examples handled satisfactory on a campus level
can't be
by
sure.
adults?
I can't be sure.
Dr. Knoll?
That's,
Yeah,
that's
I
the,
agree with
that's
the-
that, before you
If-
answer
if
that,
they-
Dr. Knoll, if I will, this is the difficult part that I have, because Ms. Olenwell, you bring up examples. I don't want to prolong the meeting anymore,
Thank
because, Dr. Deitcherman is about to say his famous line here in another 2 minutes.
That was yesterday.
But, yeah. But when you start talking about specifics like that, I almost want to go back to executive session so we can talk about this, because we can't talk about these kids. There's no way in the world I would ever believe that a young man walked into a young woman's bathroom and nobody did anything.
I didn't say nobody did anything. That wasn't the point.
You implied that nothing has happened except don't do that again kind of
I
attitude.
never said that.
We got to scare.
Okay, Miss Oldenweller.
We gotta make sure we scare and
I'm just
scare
saying,
today.
I'm just saying that by putting something in writing, it gives us parameters and it gives us protection over being sued over things happening or over the things that happen on our campuses that we're not training employees, and protection for our teachers. We've had two lawsuits.
You write your policy, we gonna get
Dr.
sued.
Mr. Williams, please.
We've had 2 lawsuits from teachers be upheld recently because of not having the right guidance and being forced to do certain things or address students by certain pronouns, so on and so forth. We have nothing. Yes, there are 2 lawsuits, California, and I can't remember the other
You
one, and I'll
said
get it for you.
You
We.
said we.
You said
Oh, I don't
we.
mean Conroe IC, my
Yeah,
bad.
we don't
I'm
have
saying
any of that
there
stuff.
are out there. My correction.
Trustee
My correction.
Odenweiler, do we have real issues here that are really happening in our school district?
The issue is that we are not putting anything in place to follow and be consistent across our campus. That's the real problem.
Motion, we adjourn this meeting.
No, not yet.
Didn't Riley Gaines
Not
just
there yet.
win a huge lawsuit? She just won like a $50 million
Let's keep it
lawsuit.
moving, man. Let's get out of here.
That was,
No, she did.
that was NCAA. That has nothing to do with us.
Oh.
And I'm glad that she won that, but that has nothing to do with us.
But I guess my point is though, is we are liable to, we're opening ourselves up to litigation.
How so?
Now, we worried about litigation one day. 2 seconds ago, we want to break all federal laws and just go run road, just go wild out. Now,
No,
all
it
of a
was
sudden,
over
we're worried about
protection as
law.
well.
Oh, God,
Ms.
people, come
Galatas,
on, man.
how many Title IX lawsuits are taken to
We're not talking
added-
about Title IX.
We are, because that's what they're saying. How many lawsuits are taken against a school district for following Title IX rather than not following Title IX?
I'm not aware of any for following.
Thank
a
you.
federal law.
Thank you
Ms.
very much.
Galatas, if someone is injured or harmed on our campus because of the Title IX provisions that may or may not be put into place, but say they are, does our district have jurisdiction?
We don't know what you're asking.
If we were following the law, we would not be liable if
Yeah.
the following the law resulted in injury.
So if a child is hurt in a bathroom because we are including both genders in our bathroom, you're saying that Conroe ISD does not have jurisdiction over that?
The question to me was if we were following Title IX and someone was hurt, would we be liable?
Yes.
And the answer is no.
That's not what I've been told. Okay.
What would, how would you be told otherwise? If the federal law says this is allowable, and it's allowed, you're saying that the district, someone told you the district is held liable for
If
that?
something happens on our campus will harm a child, that's, yes, that the district has jurisdiction.
But if we're
Legal.
following the law,
What is
like if a kid falls down
jurisdiction?
the stairs,
That's the question, it's not law, so we can't have this discussion.
I know, that's what's, like, I read through, Miss Oldham, I read through this stuff, and it's not just about the facilities. You've got
No.
stuff in here about pronouns and all
Right,
that
which
other
had to do
stuff,
with the
and-
lawsuits that I just mentioned.
Yeah, and then
It's
it's.
something
I
that's
just-
coming that we're not willing to get ahead of, so.
it's-
And that's fine. At this point, it's not fine, but if that's where the board sits, we can't, I mean,
We need some policies on board
I
members
just-
overstepping their
It-
bounds.
I'm trying, like, the top initiatives that seem to come from just based on what you're bringing to the agenda seem to come around restricting books. Apparently, like poster police, gay kids, like taking away any protection.
Black off the
what
books.
am I taking
Black-
away
Like
by this?
when do we get down to the business of the real problems that the district is facing?
Okay,
Look
so
at
tell me what we've
When
done for
do we get
dyslexia
there?
students. I've
Oh,
tried to
yeah,
fight for
that's a-
dyslexia
that's a
students.
button-
When did we
that's a-
take that up?
That's a button.
When
for
did we
Fran.
take up the fact that we, for how many years, didn't have a phonics program in our curriculum, which is a fundamental way of teaching reading, and then we spent $4 million buying a phonics program we could have had for free? I mean, these are all issues
You
I've brought
haven't
up.
brought any of those as
Value add,
agenda issues.
none.
They were already, when we were purchasing curriculum, I spoke about them ad nauseum. I came up here with facts. I went back and forth with Dr. Upshaw. These were all things that I have done that are on educational facts.
But they also had facts in regards to the curriculum that they wanted.
I'm
And
not
they
trying to go
presented
back
all
and
on, we're getting off
litigate.
subject.
I'm
Let's
not
just
trying to
stay-
go back and
Let's
argue
say-
that. I was
if
just
we
trying to
may.
give her statements when I was talking about educational items.
I would say this, Ms. Chase. You shouldn't attend all the arguments you're invited to.
I'm sorry, Mr. Williams,
Well,
what did you
I said
say?
you gotta be careful attending all the arguments that you're invited to.
So I will just say
Pot,
this, so we can
kettle.
move on.
Touche.
The item was board member request discussion and development of a local policy addressing gender fluidity. Is there any, because it's the way it's written, and it says discussion and development, is there any motion to develop a policy?
I will not look at anything from Katy ISD.
Okay. So if no motion.
I didn't give anything from
No,
Katy
I'm
ISD.
just saying, we've already seen the problems from the last issue
Oh, yeah.
that Katy ISD presented. We're not gonna, we
For the
shouldn't
But we
follow
all had the
anything else.
opportunity to contribute to that
You
policy.
can.
Every one of us
Get
had the
anything from
opportunity to
Katy
do that.
ISD. Oh, sorry,
Let's go. We learn from our mistakes.
never mind.
Okay.
No, I was just asking, it was thrown out there, and it sounds to me that no one wants to put forth, I just
Nope.
want to talk about, I just wanted to, but no one wants to put forth anything, so, okay, all right, moving on.